Hi everyone, welcome to the Swedish Gaming Dudes. My name is Johan.
And I am John.
And welcome to a new episode of our podcast. And today we're going to discuss game consoles.
Yeah, game consoles and also handhelds of the pretty much similar kind.
Yeah. We're going to talk about our favorite consoles, or maybe our least favorite console, and
maybe even down to the absolute worst according to our own opinion.
Yes. So it's going to be a lot of fun discussing it, I think.
Oh yes.
So John, what are you playing right now? Are you into a game right now?
Oh yeah, I'm completely hooked on Resident Evil 4 Remake, playing it on the PS5. I am so blown away. I remember so many things from it, and I'm so glad that it's been years since I played the original. I did play the original on several consoles, I remember, and loved it, but there were several kinds of enemies that just scared the hell out of me.
Yes.
And it sounds insane, but I'm so happy to revisit those moments in the new one.
No, I've been playing that one as well a lot, and I think it's a very, very good remake. It takes those moments, as you mentioned, those intense moments from the original, and just heightens them. They always push it a little bit further than in the originals. It's more scarier. Or they use an enemy from a certain scenario and just changes things around, and completely gorgeous game, and really well done, I think. One of the best Resident Evil games. Absolutely.
Oh yes.
I've been playing that, and I also actually checked out the release this week for PlayStation and on Switch as well. Final Fantasy Pixel remasters of the old games, 1 to 6 actually, of the old Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, I heard about them.
Yeah, they're really cool actually. 6 is my favorite. I actually just bought number 6, but... they revamped the graphics in a way. It works for a widescreen now, and you have you can save often, and you have you can boost XP and gil and everything you want to.
Finally.
Yes. Final Fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
No, so you get a much, I think, smoother experience. And 6, I think, also has maybe the best soundtrack of the series. In 6 has amazing soundtrack by Nobuo Matsu, and they have re-recorded all the music with instruments and staying true to the original sound.
Oh, that's amazing! I love it when they do that.
So I was really surprised by that. So much effort just to make it sound good, and at the same time true to the original. So no, just been enjoying that, I think. So.
Oh, amazing.
So it's a good time to be a gamer now, I think. We have had a good start this year with remakes and some cool releases.
Yeah, definitely.
Still more to come. We have more Final Fantasy coming this year, and we soon have a new Zelda game as well. Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom is coming in 2 weeks, something? Almost.
Yeah,
a little bit.
May 12th.
Yeah, May 12th, yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's going to be really great. I wasn't that much, hyped up about the sequel to the Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild just felt to me like an okay or even somewhat better Zelda game, but still my favorites has to be, Ocarina of Time, because I just loved how it was linear.
Yeah, that's a hard one. If you want it completely open with all that choices, or if you want it more linear. I think that's just a personal preference, basically, what you enjoy most from games. No, same for me, because I think of it like this big open, wow, where I'm going to start when I start that sort of game. So sometimes it's nice to play those old schools, take one dungeon at a time in this order, and
Oh, of course.
Completely different experience. We're going to talk about consoles today. Which was your first console, John? What was your first gaming console?
The first gaming console was owned by my oldest sister. It was an NES.
Ah, okay.
And since we were 4 and then later 5 children in a household, in a house with 2 adults, we were never really poor, but we had to really be aware of how much money we were spending, and that meant that we did not prioritize games in the slightest. So borrowing games from friends was our go-to way of experiencing new games, and that was how it all started. So the NES is pretty much my childhood memories.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Which one was yours?
I guess you can't count it as a console, maybe, but actually, when I was like maybe 6 or something, I got a Commodore 64 computer for Christmas. I know my parents had brought it like on. Yeah, it's an ad for it. Someone was just selling their Commodore 64. So that was my first console, if you want to call it console, but gaming experience at least.
Yeah, of course, I get that.
Yeah, but it was sort of had like horrible loading times. You have like all the games on like cassettes. This one did at least. And you had to put it in a separate like cassette reader, and you had to like tune in to a certain frequency on the tapes to find the games. It took like, I don't know, like almost, I would say about 15 to 20 minutes sometimes just to start a game, basically, because you had to find it on these tapes and stuff. It was crazy. And
that is absurd.
Yeah, that was completely absurd. And I didn't have, because there were some platform games on that, but it was like, I didn't have a good controller for it. I had like it was like sort of a round dome in plastic. It was to put your whole hand on it, and you like grabbing a dome shape plastic, and you just tilted it left, right, forward, and stuff like that. It was extremely unpractical way to play a video game, because with platforming you need to jump and you need to time your jumps, and so I almost couldn't play on it. And I think we had also later we bought like some sort of joystick controller, but not like with not like for an NES, for example, which is a good controller for platforming games and stuff like that. So but I haven't played anything else at that time. So I was, this is so cool. And you're like, okay, every game is hard, I guess, because of the controls and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
the thing is, like, when it comes to the Commodore 64, I've just heard of this console. I've seen it on the internet and stuff like that, but I've never ever played any of those kinds, because I believe that it exists in different kinds of variations. So know nothing about it. I know that it plays 8-bits games and maybe even 16 bits in some cases, which I'm not really sure about, but I really know nothing about it.
No, it's I can't say that you missed much not playing on that. It's like, no, because it has some sort of like versions of maybe Nintendo games or arcade games, and really downgraded to work on that computer. So I can't say I had any really good gaming memories from that, but I got like I had RoboCop 2 from the movie. The game from the movie was pretty cool, but that one was on cassette that you like put in the back of the like keyboard or something like that to play it. So very strange way to play video games, but that was my first. But then as I got a little bit older and got some new friends in school, they had the NES, the Nintendo console. Me and my brother, I remember we saved our money so we could buy an NES and play Mario. And we started with Mario, and then I think we bought a lot of like Disney games, like Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers and stuff like that. And we had a huge NES library, but that's when I really got into gaming, because then you had this NES controller, and with Mario games and stuff like that. It was a completely different experience playing those games, and you just put in the cassette and turn the power on, and you could play the game. So it was like
with huge, no loading times,
no tuning into right game on cassette tapes or anything. So that was a huge difference for me, I think.
So
NES was for me as well, and we here in Sweden have sort of cool, because we have Bergsala here in Sweden that imports Nintendo games and brought it to a larger audience, and I think that was at the time that was unique, because I don't remember his name now, but the guy who started the company basically went to Japan and like tried the NES and like got to experience all these cool games, and like built up this relationship with Nintendo that he wanted to import games to Sweden and sell that in Sweden as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so I think that was like in gaming history, we're one of the first countries who bought it from Japan and started selling it in stores here. Wow. So it's very cool, Swedish.
I've never even heard of such a thing, but you know, it sounds amazing because all I know about Bysol is, of course, that they're a distributor for these days all of the Nordic countries.
Yeah.
And it's just so amazing because it doesn't really seem like Nintendo has any companies who does the same thing, because like Nintendo America, they do for America, and then Nintendo of Japan do for Japan.
Yeah,
but I do believe that maybe there was another company acting as a distributor for a certain region of the world, but otherwise, Nintendo does the deal.
Yeah. No, it's very cool, and I know if you travel on that road, and you usually if you travel up to Gothenburg, you come across Bysol, and it's so cool because they have this big Mario like statue on the outside.
Childhood memories when I went to my cousins.
Yeah, and it's so cool, and I know they had this old version before, but now they have more newer Mario version, and it's,
and as I come to think of it, that huge Mario statue that's right there in Kungsbacka, outside of Gothenburg. Like, as you passed that by, you didn't really know that, but having been there once in my life, I have finally been informed that the actual headquarters, that place, it's called Marius Gata, like the street of Mario.
Oh, that's so cool.
I think they really got the name approved.
Oh,
it seems so amazing.
Yeah, it's so cool because as you say, it's a direct link to Nintendo in Japan. It's very cool, and I remember when I bought my NES that I also got into the Nintendo Club. So you get I think you got the Nintendo Power magazine, and you get like the membership card, and I got a little plastic Mario figure, I remember. But so that was, I was so hooked at that time, with Mario games. So NES was a very important console for me in that way.
It's absolutely like nostalgia in its purest form.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I remember a couple of years, maybe when I was 8 or 9 or something like that, for Christmas. Also, me and my brother, we got Game Boys for Christmas. So we had, I think my brother got like Super Mario Land, and I was so into Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I remember I got one of those games to my Game Boy, So we had those, played so many games, and it was so cool to take it with you wherever you were going, and even if the screen was hard to look at in a certain light,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But lots of fun memories with the Game Boy as well. This big chunk of, it's a little bit hard to grip sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But it's,
The one thing that I absolutely love with the Game Boy is that it feels like, it's a timeless piece. Because, well, of course, it's kind of revolutionary for its time with the kind of screen and how it works with, the controllers. A, B, start select button, and the D-pad. But it runs on 4 AA batteries, which just seems like overkill. But of course, I mean, given in the early 90s that was released, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But, these days, as I have showed you, like, what was it, almost a week ago or two, I had a friend who modded my original Game Boy to, bring it to the modern era slightly. So finally, a better screen, USB-C charging port, along with its rechargeable battery, and it was a game changer. Yeah. Not that I play it, but it's like, okay, now that I have 2 Game Boys, one in its original form and the other one remade, if I would so choose to play it once again, I can finally do that, enjoying it without like using some sort of a lit up room. Yeah.
No, but it was so cool to try it out at your place, because you got, as you said, this bright real screen for the game, so you can see all the details and stuff like that, and very cool, modernized with the charging and
definitely
stuff. Yeah. Because I remember, as you can buy to the Game Boy this like plastic cover basically with lights,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's called Game Boy Light or something like that. So just like a light screen you can put on, so you get brighter light. And I think it enhanced maybe the screen as well somewhat. Yes.
Oh, yeah, of course. In fact, there is an actual Game Boy Light in its own Game Boy form. I believe it was a Japan exclusive, if I'm not mistaken, a Japanese exclusive piece of handheld.
Cool.
It is a Game Boy, but with a background light, but it is a poor background light feature.
Okay.
It's sort of dim lit. You can definitely tell when it's completely dark or, sort of dark, but it doesn't even hold up in comparison to today's lit up screens in terms of, the nits that we talk about to measure brightness.
Yeah. No, I think they have. It's so cool what Nintendo now have done with the Switch, for example. Like just in carrying it and playing with it is so good quality with the screen and stuff. It feels very high quality, I think.
Yeah, it's truly superb. Love the build quality. I would say like the only thing that I complain about the Switch in its practical sense is that the Joy-Cons don't, with my huge hands, it doesn't feel like they are ergonomical.
No.
Especially for the right hand, giving me cramps with a low key, what is called thumbstick. Because I have to bend it down in a certain position where it feels like it's about to cramp up and fall off.
No, I guess you bought that too. I remember this. It's called Satisfy Grip. You can buy extra for the Switch.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and that's a game changer. Speaking of, because it feels like when you put it inside your Switch inside it, you feel like you have this almost pro controller grip on the side. So you have much more better for your thumbs and for the fingers. It feels so comfortable to play it on the go.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't, same as you say, before I bought that, traveling, meeting a friend, something like that on the train, and I couldn't play almost like games that you had to change the camera with the left stick and then move with the right stick, like Mario Odyssey, for example. I found it so hard to play it without that special grip. It was hard to change, and it's so thin, the Switch, without that.
Of course, that too. Yeah, it's definitely not. It's not comfortable playing like that. Of course, if you would play a game, like a platformer, where you don't have to use the right stick for angles and such, it's kind of okay because then you can keep your right thumb stretched. But otherwise, it's like, no, it doesn't work. So with this Satisfy Zen Grip Pro, it's a game changer to the point where it just feels like, okay, this is the way that the Switch was supposed to be played in its handheld form.
Yeah.
So now it's like my go-to chosen console whenever I'm traveling somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And I feel, I'm not even connecting my Switch anymore to my TV unless I really have to.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I just love how it feels, and with the OLED model having a better battery than the original Switch back in 2017, it's just, it's really worth it because the battery lasts.
Yeah, true. No, I love my Switch. So after like Game Boy, growing up like that, and what console was next for you after Nintendo, the NES?
Yeah, let's see here. I did grow up with a NES there, and as before I was a teenager, I remember a couple of kids that I became friend with in my village that I grew up in. They had the Super Nintendo. Yeah. And I remember Super Mario World and Turtles in Time, those masterpieces. I just loved everything about it. I wanted a Super Nintendo so bad, but I didn't get it until much later. So the next console that I got, which was a console that I shared with a friend, because, me and this friend, we were able to play games kind of often. And I remember it was a Nintendo 64. And we got the two games, GoldenEye and Mario 64 at the same time.
Nice.
For Christmas it was. And it was amazing. I wasn't even bothered by the controller.
Me neither. When I mean, such a nerd, but I can still remember the first time I played Nintendo 64. It was in this big toy store here in Sweden. But I think it was a release week. It just had been released, and just trying. You can try Mario 64 and Now, of course, the control seems clunky, or it's hard to grip it. But at the time, it felt so cool, like this big controller, and it had this joystick in the middle, and it felt really like the future in a way.
Oh yeah, it felt like revolutionary build.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, today, as I said, people, it's so big, and you can't really control with it. But at the time, it felt very cool, very like the next big thing, when you tried it. So it was super cool, super cool. I actually bought with my brother. Once again, we gathered the money to buy Super Nintendo when it was released. So yeah, but also played that in a store for the first time. Try a Mario, Super Mario World, and playing that, and also we had Turtles in Time when that was released, and Donkey Kong Country, and Link to the Past. Link to the Past was actually the first Zelda game that I really played and completed. I think I tried the older ones on NES at a friend's house, but really playing Zelda for the first time was Link to the Past for me, and getting into that world. It was so cool.
Nice.
But no, the Super NES was a really, really cool console. I think so many good games. Speaking of Final Fantasy 6 for that, but some of those games never came to us here in Sweden and Europe. It always was to either Japan or the United States. We never got them here, so we had to have. You could import them, but you had to have some converter to play it on the Swedish version of the console. Yeah,
true.
So, but NES was so much fun, such a big leap in the graphics at the time, with the music and what you could do with it, basically.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like looking back at some of the gameplay for a lot of different kinds of games, you can definitely see that when there are different kinds of versions for, Commodore 64, maybe the Amiga of different kinds, the NES is sometimes superior having the version of a certain game, and it feels like, it was definitely better than I thought. Yeah.
Good to have low expectations sometimes. It's like, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
No, but it was cool. And I remember with graphics as well on the Super NES that like when Donkey Kong Country, for example, was released, it was like, oh my god, games will never look better than this. It was, and it still looks good actually to this day.
Does. I think. It feels like it's some sort of a computer-generated photorealism. It feels like visually.
Yeah.
I love how that feels, and I don't really like the Mortal Kombat games, but it feels like the graphics engine feels somewhat similar to Donkey Kong Country and how it's made. And I really enjoy that. And I was thinking also about what you mentioned with the Nintendo 64 controller. I really love it these days, given the fact that how much criticism the Nintendo 64 has been criticized with its controller having this joystick being grinded down into a plastic powder, as you would, have Mario Party, these games where you circle it all around and it gets pulverized over time, and then when you play a certain game, you can't even walk with this character in your game because you have to tilt it all the way to make him even crawl or whatever. But these days you can actually find these kinds of third-party joysticks, which are super easy to actually just exchange with the original and have it in a brand new condition, but also you gain the benefit of making it feel like it's the same kind of material that the GameCube controller joystick was made of.
Yeah, that's true.
And therefore it just feels like, man, this one will last a lot longer and it's a lot more comfortable.
Because I remember Nintendo 64 was that console that you had to basically buy a new controller, because as you say, you grinded down the joystick so much. Finally you got this drifting, the character was moving even if you didn't move the stick, and I mean, like, it was really begging for it when you played like Mario 64 and you're going to meeting Bowser and you had to take him by the tail and spin him around and then throw him. That's basically, you're going to destroy your controller here, basically.
Of course.
I remember that.
Exactly. That's a very good example. So I would say like that game and maybe a few Mario Party games. Make as many circles as you can in the shortest amount of time possible. Don't. But it's like, I'm just thinking... I kind of lost track here. The controller, I feel like, the Nintendo 64, I'm a little bit torn apart here because the controller, because of my subjective experience in liking it in the past, I do like playing it playing on the Nintendo 64 these days, I don't really mind the controller despite its build, which is, not really that good. But I don't know if it belongs to my least appreciated consoles that I've owned in the past.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit torn about that.
Yeah.
Because it does have great games. Ocarina of Time,
yes.
which I would say is amongst my top 10.
Yeah, for me as well. And as you say, GoldenEye, completely groundbreaking when it comes to first-person shooters in a home console, because not on a PC, playing, and with this 4-player split screen and a completely new gaming experience. Because I had Nintendo 64, I think maybe around 10 games. It wasn't that console that you had many games to, but you had those really good ones when they were released. As you said, it was different style with the graphics. It was after the PlayStation. Before Nintendo 64, I had a PlayStation also with my brother, and I remember playing on that, and it was cool with the 3D graphics. That was the first time I played Resident Evil 1, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And PlayStation got to be this console you had when you were coming into your teenage years, and it was this cooler console, oh no, Nintendo is just for children, you want a PlayStation.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a sort of feeling for it. I don't think it's like that today in the same way, but yeah, I was also torn to it, because it really has revolutionary games, really, with Mario 64, as you say, and Ocarina of Time, GoldenEye, and stuff like that. At the same time, it had its limitations with the graphics and the memory on the cartridge. You couldn't make it too big, or you couldn't have too many video sequences, full motion video sequences, or sound, for example, on PlayStation. Speaking of revolutionary, when they first released Final Fantasy VII or Metal Gear Solid, with the acting in that one, so many different steps in those games. But yeah, it's a hard console to judge like that, because it's revolutionary, at the same time not that many good games, and the hardware itself is limiting in a way, I think.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I feel like, the Nintendo 64 for me kind of lands in the middle somewhere, because of the fact that I'm torn apart what I feel about it.
Yeah.
But I would say, when it comes to my absolute favorite consoles of all time this far, I feel like, the PS5 is probably at the top, sharing the spot with, the Nintendo Switch. And the Nintendo Switch, despite the fact that I love games that have the best visuals, amazing sound and all that when it comes to graphics and such, but with the Nintendo Switch, I just love the fact about it, I do not have to stop playing just because I need to go down to the room where I do my laundry. I can just get it on the go, to continue playing down there. It's amazing. I love the practicality.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, it's hard, as you say, and I love, I have PlayStation 5 as well, and I love the way it's just the power of it, and the capabilities with the graphics. Speaking of Resident Evil 4, one of the best looking games ever, basically.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I showed it to some friend as well, and he's like, oh my god, the graphics, what you can do. And my brother, I know he played a little bit with my dad, and my dad oh my god, in shock, there are no limitations, basically. It feels like that, with that power. And so that's very cool. But at the same time, to say with the Switch is so neat that you can take it on the go, and there's so many good games on it as well.
And a little bit too much, because I don't have the time to explore.
No, exactly. And Nintendo, I think now, in the last maybe 2 years at least, have been releasing more more games for it that we wanted for it, going back to older games and re-releasing them. I think we talked about this on our first episode, Metroid Prime, for example.
Yeah,
that's
true, we did.
One of my absolute favorite games, and it got this really well done remake, and so it feels like they start to listening maybe to the consumers a little bit more, Nintendo. And speaking of Metroid, also feels like it having some sort of it comes back now, because there's so many years with no new Metroid game, and then we got Metroid Dread, and we have now Metroid Fusion actually on the online Nintendo,
We do.
So I played it, and that's a really good game. I hadn't played it in many years because I had a Game Boy Advance many years ago. So I played it on that, but now playing Metroid Fusion, I usually have it hooked up to my TV because I have a big OLED TV and I really like the colors and everything.
Oh yeah, you know? I'm very actually curious about this emulation experience through the Switch in that game, but because I do feel like I have this kind of thought. Or should I say impression about the visuals regarding the Game Boy Advance graphics that the contours aren't crisp. It's always like blurry.
They are very crisp on the emulation, I can tell you.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I have to show you. No, because that's what I thought. I thought that as well. Like, Game Boy Advance, how will it look on the big screen? My big screen TV. But it looks really good, like really well defined. You see all the colors and no blurriness whatsoever. Really good quality image, I think. So that was really cool to go back to that game. It has a lot of fans, I know, Fusion. So I guess, I remember it was sort of good like that. But I now playing it like last week, it was like, okay, I get it. Why? Because it's so cool design with this evil Samus around that's chasing you on this station, and it has this sort of darker atmosphere in a way, and a very cool way on the way you get items, and very good Metroid games. So as a huge Metroid fan, I'm glad it's coming back more and more now, and I'm hoping they're going to release Metroid Prime 2 and 3 before the release number 4 that's in production as well. So
it's kind of funny that we haven't gotten any updates regarding the 4th one, because they restarted the project a couple of years ago, but ever since then it's been kind of quiet on that front. But I think Retro Studios came back. They made the first one. I think first 3. I think they came back now, taking over the project for number 4. So so we have to see. But you want some news, as you say, you want some trailer or something, just something to go on. Sure.
But it's cool, and just like taking the train or something like that, going to work and just being able to play on the go like Metroid Prime. It's so cool, and you have a good screen for it as well on the Switch. So I'm starting to think about a lot of these things, because as we started this new gaming generation back in 2020, I remember that we caught news I believe it was pretty much back then that we got headlines in newspapers and stuff saying that the cost for buying new generation games is going to be like around 300 SK more, which is I don't know, could it be like $100 close to that for a new game? I think so.
And it's like it feels a little bit exaggerated, but then again, I kind of understand that the game developers want their money and they should have a sufficient job to have a lasting job, of course. And I was leading on with another topic here in mind. I was thinking, I really love the fact that Sony has implemented this system that you and I started to use to make sure that we don't spend as much money on each game that we get. So it is actually possible to digitally share games with one chosen friend, as long as they have a PS4 or a PS5.
Yes, that's good. That's good. You can change it up, I think. But as I say, I don't know how much of that money goes to the developers, because that's one thing. I think, as you say, if it goes to the guys who really work hard and those late hours and everything, crunch time just to get into the release dates, the finished game, then I think it's fine that it's a little bit more expensive. But if it just to line the pockets of the producers and the executives, that's a completely different thing. Then it's just greed, But I think they're going at what I can read for certain game companies, at least, that they're really trying to scale down this crunch time, so they don't have to spend a day, almost 24 hours at work, just working these late hours just to meet deadlines and stuff like that. Because that's been a huge problem with and I think, you get this finished product that's amazing, but sometimes I remember when they're going to release The Last of Us Part 2, I read a lot about crunch time, and people were really overworked on that game. So it's hard to me to like, yeah, it looks good, but I know that people have really suffered to make it look that good, you know. So I think you have to have a balance if you're a boss of a game developing company. You have to like, no, we can't have this crunch time. We have to have no more humane standards in the workplace, you know.
Of course, definitely.
So I think it's coming more and more. I hope it gets even better, but because, yeah, and especially Last of Us 2, it's a very long game. I felt the story and everything just dragged on as well. And it's like, did people really just, you know, slave around the clock just to make it this long, you know? It's so unnecessary in a way. It's like a little bit pretentious, I think, from the developer side, from the game creator at least. But yeah, as long as that money goes to the workforce, I'm absolutely on board for that.
Yeah, of course. I had no idea, but then again, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was also getting to the fact, you know, I just love the fact that backwards compatibility feels like it's more common with newer console these days. Because before it felt like, okay, the Nintendo added it once they got into, let's see here, the Wii could play GameCube games.
Yeah.
But with the GameCube being the first Nintendo console using mini discs, it felt like, okay, it can't be backwards compatible in the same sense unless Nintendo would have made the game, you know, recorded on the disc, so to speak, burnt onto a disc and then played on there. Yeah. But with the PlayStation 2, well, they went ahead with PlayStation 1 capability from there. But with the Xbox ecosystem. Yeah. I just love how they have their entire ecosystem being playable on their latest Xbox Series X.
Yes.
Why don't everybody do that?
yeah, no, but it's so cool, as you say, and I got from you and other friends an Xbox for a birthday gift now, a couple of months ago. No, because I only owned the first Xbox when it came out, you know. So I never owned any more Xbox. So it was so cool to go back now with Series X and just start with Game Pass. You have so many games, but at the same time you can find these old games that you liked and you can buy them pretty cheap, you know, even if it's so I found like I love this old like Tomb Raider games as well, so I bought like this Legend and stuff like that. And it's so cool to just download it. I can play it whenever I want now. I can do that on the PlayStation. And it's a really cool feature. I think, as you say, every game console should be like that, backwards, at least in a digital way, because you have to maybe change stuff. But I think it's sad when I think we mentioned this in the other podcast, when it's only for a game console and then they stop making that console and you just can't play it anymore. Maybe you have that console, but it gets old, it's worn out, it doesn't work the way it should, and you just can't play that game anymore. So I think everything should be, as you say, with Xbox, that you can always get it in some way and play it on the console. I think absolutely.
But it's just so amazing with Game Pass and all that. But I'm not going to get into details. But I love the ecosystem of Xbox. Yeah. And speaking of Xbox, Xbox Original. I remembered at first they released the Xbox Original with the Duke controller.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorites.
Yeah, cool.
A lot of people hated it, but I guess that maybe they had a little bit of a smaller hands. Yeah. And then I can get it because it's a huge controller, but for some reason I love it because my hands can relax so good with holding that one in my hands. Yeah. I remember I finished a few games with that, for instance, Ninja Gaiden, the original reboot.
Yeah.
The first one, and it was just so amazing.
Cool.
And then they remade it, the controller, to fit better into the hands of people who had slightly smaller hands.
Yeah.
And it was okay for me, but not my favorite.
No, that's true. No, I only played the second version. I'd never had that, the bigger one, but. Controls are so important. I really love the PlayStation 5 controller, DualSense.
Me too. It's great.
And they had this haptic feedback. It's so cool the way it implemented in games. And like, for example, with Resident Evil, that it has like this trigger, just like when you're using guns in the game. It has this like pressure point, like exactly like a real gun. Like you have to press it a bit before you shoot. Basically, it's so cool how it can really simulate those.
Yeah, of course. And it seems like I've heard from some of my friends who are very interested in a lot of tech stuff that they have actually, these haptic triggers. They actually installed these physical brakes in them, which is how they were able to simulate all these stuff. I don't know how, but it seems like they can fit an actual brake in there.
Yeah. No, but it's so cool, and just how it can, really simulate a feeling. Like if it's raining in a game, for example, and they made good work of the controller, you can feel how the rain is like tapping on the controller, like raindrops and stuff like that. It's so cool how they can simulate a feeling like
amazing.
That. Yeah. So it's going back to with playing with Xbox. I actually like the Xbox controller as well for Series X. It's a nice controller, but you don't have the same feeling as for the PlayStation 5 with this feedback.
No, exactly.
It's much more simpler.
It almost feels like you're being robbed of that experience, because I'm trying to imagine myself how would the later Halo games be with the same kind of PS5 features.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
Yeah,
so cool.
So maybe we can experience that with maybe some of the later Microsoft-made consoles. Maybe I don't know, but it would be so amazing, of course. And I'm just thinking, the Dual Shock for a controller feels like, that was a good controller, of course. Yeah. But I just love it how they managed to even improve it, becoming the DualSense controller. Yeah. And even when it comes to the Xbox ecosystem, I love how the Xbox One controller felt like, it was an average good controller, somewhat comfortable for me. It gets the job done. But then the D-pad. Yeah. I love how they made this kind of... I wouldn't really say that it looks like a D-pad when it comes to this series controller, but it feels even better because I love the clickiness of it.
Yeah, I agree. And it goes like almost inward into like... So your thumb is resting very good in that sort of circle, I think. Yeah. So I completely agree. It's a very nice controller. Absolutely. No, but it's... as you say, with Revolution, and we have, like, for example, when the Nintendo 64 came out, it felt like a revolution with this joystick on it, and then it's a revolution when the other companies are trying to simulate that as well, because we got the PlayStation control with the dual joysticks as well, just a short while after. And I remember playing like Metal Gear Solid, the first one, for the first time, and using that joysticks to control Snake. And it was such a cool feeling that when you played it with the PlayStation, you felt like it was different quality compared to Nintendo 64 with this tiny, gray joystick that got worn out immediately. I think you can use my, if I had it still, you could probably use my PS1 controller still. This joystick is much better quality, I think. But I think it was cool of Sony to really redesign. I mean, it feels like a DualSense controller for PS5, but they just made it much more comfortable to grip it, a little bit bigger, because they held on pretty long for this old standard for PlayStation. I think the same design for many generations, So it was nice to get a more meteor control in a way with the PS5. I think it was cool. It was about time that they, tried something different. At the same time, similar in many ways, but better grip, better anything. Did you like the GameCube controller?
I love that. I gotta say that one is amongst my favorite, maybe top 5 controllers of all time.
Yes, that's a really good one.
I love how it feels like, it's ergonomic, even though, when I was smaller, when I was younger, having smaller hands, it felt like, it just... I could really rest my hands, and I love the fact that the L and R buttons they didn't have, the shortest travel distance as a typical button, but, an actual travel, which was really a showcase when it comes to, we just mentioned 1.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yeah, I love the GameCube controller as well. Very good. As you say, with the grip, and I like this big A button, and you had this yellow C stick and stuff like that. But it worked for the games that were designed for it very well, I think.
Of course, the C button the C stick was never really a heavy usage.
No, not that much.
I felt like, maybe angles and choosing a different kind of weapon or whatever, but it wasn't like, constant every second.
No, I think it was nice, and also with this joystick on the left side, it was very comfortable, I think, as well. And one of the, I remember playing, speaking of Zelda, like the Wind Waker, playing that on GameCube. Very good control.
It was such a leap in terms of great experience, improved over the Nintendo 64 controller in pretty much every single way.
Yeah. And I remember you had good control with the left stick of Link, but the C stick worked very well for the camera. It was perfectly tuned.
It did.
For the camera, I think. So I really liked the GameCube.
Now, actually, you got me into this kind of sidetrack here when I'm thinking about. I have, in the later years, really started to think about, that I have in situations when I can actually choose to use different kinds of controllers depending on the genre of games that I'm choosing to play.
Yeah.
So I have this thought where it's like, if it's a platform or a side-scroller, I would really choose a flat controller or flatter controller with a D-pad, because I sometimes do play with it, but I'm not as comfortable with it when it comes to a joystick being used for, Mario games that are side-scrollers. But when it comes to, when you have this, so to speak, 3D depth, when you can move in every single direction, I really like the joystick.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, in games with, let's say, Metroid Prime or something like that, I really love it that, I've noticed that when I use my right thumb to, point the character in different kinds of directions, I need to put pressure points in ways that, I need to grip the controller with a little more, emphasis on pointing.
Yeah.
Which definitely feels like, I just appreciate that there's some thickness and maybe even weight to it.
Yeah.
And it feels like, the GameCube controller really made use of that. It wasn't really much a heavy controller, but it was thicker. Yeah. And the Xbox original controller, amazing. Even the PS2 controller, it was kind of okay. I wasn't really as comfortable with that.
No, that was PS2 control was like the PS1 with the dual sticks. It was just black, basically, almost the same, I think.
Of course, yeah.
No, but it's true. No, it's. I like when they going back to Metroid Prime that they implemented dual stick. You could play it almost like a modern shooter in a way on the Switch.
The way that it should be played.
Yeah, it was so cool, and I actually enhanced the sensitivity of it so I could look around really quickly with the right stick, So I got this smooth. Samus felt very smooth to control compared to the original. And you still can play it. You can actually, and that's also cool. I think sometimes when you do the remasters, that you can change back if you want the original control to feel like the old game. But I like it when they give you the option how you want to play it.
Of course, they should pretty much offer an option pretty much in every game, I guess. But it was very well implemented in that game.
Yeah,
definitely.
One console that I never owned, actually, besides a lot of Xbox that I missed, but the Wii U. I never bought a Wii U. I got the Wii, but not the Wii U.
I can definitely say that, I did buy the Wii U, not from launch, but, somewhere close after. There was only a few, given the fact that it was pretty much a failure, but I did buy Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and of course Nintendo Land came in the package that I purchased it with, the console with. But I remember the feel of the Wii U gamepad that you held in your hands. Yeah. I love the feature that you had this recessive touch screen, which felt like it didn't really register inputs where you would just point lightly as you do with a modern phone, but you really have to work with physical pressure,
like breaking it.
But it was kind of practical. You could have the item menu right there and have the main gameplay on the TV.
Yeah.
But the overall feel, it just felt like there's not really much thought and heart put into the build process of constructing this controller. It just felt Nintendo, no.
It just feels like this sidestep they had to make before doing the Switch. Like really, no, we have to have a console that you can hook up to the TV, but at the same time you can just take it with you when you're going, like just like seamlessly, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So Wii U feels like that middle step, that we're not
exactly.
really there, but we have this screen and you have like this, and
yeah, it really feels like the Wii U for me feels like, you know, it's what the Switch should have been in 2012, but it's failure version of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, because I remember like also with Revolution with the Wii, and you had like the motion controls, of course. And that was, but at the same time, that wasn't. I don't think that was a very comfortable like control in a way. It was called a Wii remote because it felt like a remote, you know, and you can hook up with this with a joystick to it, and you can buy this Pro controller for older games if you want to play it like that. But it was like not the most comfortable way to control the games. I think it's very cool, like in the cases with like Wii Sports, that was this game that you got to it, and we can still at family gatherings in my family, we can still play Wii and play the bowling game, for example. It's still fun, you know. That it works amazing in those cases, but like playing for like long time, playing like Zelda, for example, Twilight Princess, and you have to shake the controllers, and it wasn't like that precision. You just like shook it basically up and down. So I remember just feeling it was cool in a way at the time, but you felt like tired in the wrists and stuff like that. And so I always remember like, this is cool, but I would like to play it like normally, basically, on a normal controller.
That was a very common complaint amongst my friends, and became one a complaint for me as well. I had this one friend who went like, okay, I'm not even going to finish Zelda Twilight Princess because I would rather play the GameCube version. Which I never did.
No, me neither. I actually thought of getting the GameCube version just to play it like normally, but I never got so far. But hopefully, because that's so strange, because it was released on the Wii U in a HD remaster and also Wind Waker. Why haven't Nintendo released those on the Switch? It's like
it doesn't make sense.
No, it's like printing money, basically.
Exactly.
Like you have already made the HD. It's complete. You just have to release it on a different system, basically.
Of course,
it's so strange.
It is very strange. And okay, I now kind of lost track.
We wonder in our thoughts here.
Which controller did you mention just recently? I thought I had some like thoughts about that specific controller. Let's see. We were in Wii U. I really think that with the game Wii U gamepad that the Wii U came bundled with, that one was, you know, you could use it for the gameplay, but it wasn't really comfortable. And for some reason it felt like, okay, let's make a controller version out of it that you can purchase separately. So you have the controller that for its time cost around 700 SEK, and I remembered it just felt like it was a shrunk down version of the same controller.
Okay.
Because it was just so awkward, where it's like, you know, the where you would have a conventional, typical controller these days with kind of, you know, the typical thickness and the grips, the shoulder buttons and everything, but the sticks are out on the outer, you know, like pointing northwest or northeast instead of the buttons where they should be. So it's like switched around from a modern controller. It's very awkward.
Yeah, sounds awkward.
So I remember like my friends going like, I'm always pointing out in the air when I just need to do things.
That sounds very strange.
It's very strange. I'll show you once we
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see that. No, but one controller I want to mention that was very good, or is very good, is the Pro controller for the Switch. I think that's a very comfortable controller as well.
It is.
It's also very good grip, like almost resting you gripping. It feels almost like a slightly bigger version of an Xbox controller, like the newer Xbox controller. Really nice feeling with the Pro controller, I think, and also good battery life. You charge it, and that's one minus, I think, for the PS5 controller, that it doesn't have that long battery life. But no, the Switch Pro controller is very nice to play games with, I think. Yeah,
it's a very good controller. I definitely agree, and I love the fact that with a Switch, You can generally, in terms of compatibility, you can definitely just choose whatever kind of Bluetooth controller as long as you have enough buttons.
Yeah.
Like I love to collect these 8-bit Do controllers. So from there I can just choose, okay, I want to play a side scroller, so I choose that kind of flatter controller, and I want to use a 3D depth kind of game, so I'm using that controller instead of with some thickness to it.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I remember you and I, we play Halo together sometimes, and you use mouse and keyboard. You tried it out at least.
Oh yeah, it was this third-party peripheral that I got from a friend, and it worked better than I thought. The readings from how I was using the mouse wasn't that precise, but it definitely managed to kill a lot of enemies.
Yeah. Just spray the ammo around. Yeah. No.
It was definitely fun, so I feel like, it is definitely... I think that one, given the fact that it's not that accurate in terms of, how fast you need to use it for reflexes and stuff like that, I feel like, strategy games like Halo Wars would be amazing for that.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. I'm not into, as I said in our earlier podcast, not so much with PC gaming, So I never got into like strategy games and stuff like that, or like, for example, Diablo, that sort of game that it's very useful to have this mouse and keyboard stuff. But I think if I would play those games, I would absolutely prefer mouse and keyboard for that sort of games.
Have you tried like somewhat a fast-paced or like an FPS game on a PC? Have you tried that setting with mouse and keyboard?
Yes, I have. But I think I'm so used to playing on a controller that I find it harder to aim with a mouse. I know normally it's the other way around. It's much easier with a mouse to aim and to but for me, but this was a long time ago, but I was so used to playing like playing GoldenEye on Nintendo 64 with that joystick. I'm so used to that sort of aiming. So when I was aiming, I remember we played like Half-Life or some mod for it, a couple of guys. And for me, it was so hard to hit something. I just didn't have that. I wasn't used to it.
No, of course. So, it's a learning curve, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had that myself. It's kind of a short learning curve for my part, but I definitely get it why it's something that you have to relearn.
Yeah. I think it has some sort of... you have to spend more time with it and get into it like that. So if I had a gaming PC at the same time with the consoles, it would be a completely different story. But for me, it was like... I can't hit anything. Where's my yellow buttons and where's this gray little stick that I use in the Nintendo 64? I thought that was way easier. And I remember friends telling me when we were playing that, we were playing Perfect Dark, which I love also. And how can you hit anything with these controls? Like, how is it possible?
Of course.
But I was so used to playing on the Nintendo 64, so I got good at it anyway,
I understand, and I feel like it's easier for me to play most games with a handheld controller of some sort. But I do feel like when it comes to FPS games, if I'm given a choice, like playing the Halo games, I'm feeling okay. I'm gonna play the next Halo games on PC, not just because I can really amp up the frames per second average number, but it feels like it's just amazing to play it with a mouse and keyboard now that I've managed to get myself used to that too.
Yeah.
But I was actually thinking also about today's standard of the Pro controller compared to the original controllers for let's say PS5 and Series X, Series S, where it's like you have some extra functions and replaceable things on the controller. I'm getting more and more curious about those things.
I've never tried those, but I guess it's for the real pros, who really compete on those consoles. But I don't know. For me, I've always been content with the original controller like that. But it would be absolutely interesting to try it out sometimes, to change it up a little bit smoother, the way you reach for the buttons and stuff like that. So I guess for really pro players, it's good to have it. But I think today games as well has much more... Like, you can change so much style in the game itself, the way you want to play it, like which sort of control style you like. More now than before, that you can change your own buttons and stuff like that, how you want to play it, So for me, that's been, I can always change things in game instead of changing the buttons physically on a controller. So I've never felt the need to have one of those big, expensive, pro controllers. But it would be interesting to try sometimes. Anyway, I think.
Yeah. We haven't talked too much about handhelds, actually, have we?
No. You just mentioned Game Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, Game Boy and a little bit of the Switch, given the hybrid sense of things. But yeah, have you ever tried playing with the Game Gear, the Sega one?
I think I just tried it in a store, basically, but never but I wanted one when I was a kid, I remember. Because I really was into Sonic. I liked Sonic as a character. I actually had a Sega Mega Drive, 16-bit. But and so I played a lot of Sonic there. But so I was in this phase that I wanted to play all the Sonic games. But I just finished the first one actually. But I really wanted a Game Gear to play on with the colors and the screen. It was so cool. Did you have one or did you try it?
I never had one back in the day. I got actually one a few years ago. But I did buy defectively, knowing that the screen does not work properly.
Yeah.
And I do pretty much, it's almost like I'm hating it because of course, it's an early machine. What was it, competing with the Game Boy?
Yeah.
So it feels like it's more plastic surroundings than an actual screen.
Yeah.
And it's just what AB button, directional pad, which is a bad one, and then there's a start button, and it feels like it's kind of okay, but the amount of things you can see on screen is not a lot, and I feel like it destroys the experience.
No, but it's sometimes it's good with competition, because it feels like the Sega at the time was like, oh, Nintendo has the Game Boy, we also have to have some sort of handheld. We can have it in color and we can do this and this, But it always comes down to as we say, picking favorite console, and I think it always comes down to the games, and no matter what the graphics are, basically, how good are the games, and it's never a game can look amazing, and like we said, Resident Evil 4 is amazing, but it's not just because of the graphic, it's because of the gameplay. They have improved the gameplay, the controls, everything about the original game is improved in that one, and they have this amazing flow in the combat and stuff like that. So a console, I think, is never better than its games, basically. If you have good, as you say with Game Gear, you maybe had a Sonic games, and you have your game library, but you don't have those standout games. Like for example, Game Boy had its limitations, but it had Super Mario Land 2, for example, or Link's Awakening, or Samus Aran Returns, Metroid game. So it had so many good, cool, games, and even if the technology was limited, in those cases, you got the Game Boy Color, for example. But it's nice, but it's never that's the most important for the game. It's the gameplay and the design that's the most important.
Definitely.
So it's sort of hard to pick a favorite, I think, because it's different strength, and compared to revolutionary, that's one thing, but compared to favorite, what you can do with it, so I think it's hard to top the modern consoles today, as we said, PlayStation 5. Switch is amazing, as you can do so much with it. You can take it with you, and you can play it here at home, and you have this amazing game library, and I think that's very it's hard to choose
it is
a favorite,
of course,
I think. No, but I actually had the Game Boy Advance. I had a backlit version, so you can actually see more of the image.
Was it the Game Boy Advance SP foldable one?
Yeah, it was the foldable one. It was a darker gray color, I think, something like that. Yeah. Okay. But I bought it for, I wanted, speaking of Metroid Fusion, I think that was the first game I bought for it, actually.
Okay.
And I also bought Link's, it's called, the Minish Cap. Zelda game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a very good one.
It is.
Yeah, it's developed by Capcom of all companies, but it's a very good Zelda game.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool graphics, amazing music, really well done. So I didn't have that many games on it. I bought some, they released some Super Nintendo games for it, A Link to the Past. I had that, I remember. And also Metroid Zero Mission. It was a remake of the first Metroid game. Very good on Game Boy Advance. But those games work really well on Nintendo Switch, for example. If you have that, you know,
of course,
pay for it every year. But I think it's worth it, and for now with the advanced games, and they look really good on the emulation on the Switch. Really good, bright colors and sharp image, you know. So it basically comes to life in a different way that you couldn't before on this Game Boy Advance.
Oh,
it's
that's
really
amazing.
cool, really good. Some games really shines on the new hardware, I think.
Oh, that's great. And of course, you know, not that I'm going to go into detail, but I'm thinking, you know, the Nintendo DS and 3DS, like, I owned two different, you know, before becoming a collector of, you know, video game consoles and systems.
Yeah.
I had the first Nintendo DS and then the Lite version, went over to the 3DS and the 3DS XL because, you know, having bigger hands, it was more comfortable.
Yeah.
But I just love how you could have the games, you know, with the same kind of similar benefit they would have with certain games in the Wii U, where you would have playing with the two screens. So the lower screen was a touch screen, but usually it was like you could have the map showed in real time where you were and needed to go, and then you complemented that with the upper screen where you would do the main gameplay, showing the character when it happened on screen.
Yeah.
And it was just so amazing. And then with a 3DS, the 3D gimmick. It was kind of amazing. It looked in the right angle because otherwise it would hurt, you know, somewhere in your temple. I do kind of like those, but, you know, I really always felt like, you know, handhelds up until now has generally, for the most part, been something that hasn't been ergonomically built.
No.
It's always, you know, like big brick built, you know.
Yeah. But I think, as you say, with the Switch, and you have this Satisfy grip. It's, you know, a third-party company that makes it. But that's such a good combination, and just having the Switch, and I mean, it's nowadays maybe it's nothing because you're very, like, with mobile phones you can have games that looks amazing, you know. But for us that grew up in the 80s, I mean, I remember traveling to a friend here in Sweden on a train for several hours and just sitting and playing, like, for example, Mario Odyssey, this amazing 3D game, like, in handheld. I still think it has that wow factor in a way. This is so cool. You can play this on the go, you know. That the technology is there today and will only continue to get better, you know. And I think I'm guessing Nintendo will continue on this path, you know, the Switch 2, or what you want to call it, when it comes out. I think it will still have this from TV to handheld thing, because that's what people really like, to be able to change that.
Exactly, yeah.
And just having that with even more powerful hardware, I think will be amazing, because Switch is getting also more competition now with the Steam Deck, for example, and you have more, like, powerful handheld, almost computers in a way, you know. So Nintendo, but yeah, as people say, the Switch graphic doesn't look as good as maybe on the Steam Deck. Sure. But once again, the Switch has really good first-party games, you know, Nintendo designed games for example, Zelda or Metroid or Super Mario, like these classics. So it always comes down to the games, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And now I got to think about, you know, given the you know, on the handheld topic of things. Yeah. I'm kind of, you know, puzzled about Microsoft's answer on how they wanted to, you know, create something similar to compete in the handheld market. And, you know, the xCloud and how they've implemented, what is their version of remote play, you know, where you emphasize everything on your internet connection. Yeah. And it just feels like, but, you know, your internet connection are going to drop at points when it shouldn't in your gameplay, and it's just going to ruin everything. We all know what happens when you get to half of your frame rates, you know, the crucial ones. It just destroys everything. I feel like, you know, but, you know, your gameplay should be fluent. Yes. It has to be.
Yeah, no, but it's true. And speaking of that, if you're like playing, if you want to play with a connection and you're basically, if you're on a train, for example, you very rarely have like good connections on the train here in Sweden, at least. It's like very, you often lose contact with the internet and stuff like that. So I can't think it's not there yet, like the technology, I think.
Because it showed with the Stadia, I remember.
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
I almost forgot about that one.
Yeah, same here. Everybody's forgotten about that one, I think.
Yeah.
No, but it's true. It just wasn't there, the technology, I think. And frame rate is important for certain types of games. Speaking of Switch, I bought the Doom game that came, the first new Doom game that came a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got the second now, a couple of years ago as well. But the first one on the Switch, because I heard so many good things about it, even on the Switch, and I thought, oh, it would be cool to have that game handheld, because I really like it. And I tried it, I have it on my Switch, but this frame rate was only 30 FPS. In that fast-paced Doom game, for me, it didn't work at all. I couldn't play it. It was like, I think I got past a couple of first levels or something like that. But compared to like on PlayStation with 60 frames and this fast combat, it's very intense and you have enemies all over. And here with playing on Switch, just 30 frames, and it was, lagging maybe when you were aiming and stuff like that. And it was much harder to play it. So, and a lot of game companies today gets a lot of like criticism against like they're going to release, like for now, I think shortly this Redfall game is coming for Xbox, for example. And people looking forward to it. This first-person shooter type style game, and they now released on their Twitter account. The developers said, it will only run in 30 FPS. So people are really disappointed because you'll be buying these new consoles, new hardware. Of course, you should have the option to play in 60 frames at least. I think on newer games, on all newer games.
Yeah, of course, it's become the new standard.
Yeah, so I think it's really. It's not something you can just like push, like, oh no, we don't have it. You have to play like in 30 FPS performance mode, or what we want to call it, But no, we want this fluid motion. It's way more important, I think, than having, every texture, in 4K. I don't really care about that. I much rather have this fluid gaming experience. Yeah.
Truly, I agree.
I have to ask you, before we end, do you have a least favorite gaming console? Not that you hate, but you're like, you could live without that one. It's not that good.
Despite the fact that I've pretty much only played like 1 or 2, maybe 3 games on it, I would say the Sega Dreamcast.
Sega Dreamcast, yeah.
Maybe actually, I would say even the controller is my worst, in my opinion.
That was a special controller on that one, yeah.
Playable, but not enjoyable.
No, no, but that's true. The Dreamcast, it didn't have that long run, sadly. No, I remember when it came out, I was impressed with the graphics, the 3D graphics, and I remember my brother, he got the Shenmue games, and I really liked those. Actually, I borrowed the console from him just to play those games. But yeah, not the best console, and such a strange controller, and with the cord going on the other side of the controller, and this removable memory card.
The VMU?
Yeah, I think it's called that. Yeah, no, so strange console, but short-lived. No.
Yeah. Well, would you also say that that's your worst in your opinion, or do you have another answer?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't. Yeah. But for a console that I had more time experience with, if you want to call it that, I mean, I know, maybe this is heresy to say, but like for the Wii, for example, it was revolutionary with the movement and stuff, but at the same time it was sort of gimmicky, and I think the games could definitely have been improved more, maybe what you did with the controls and stuff like that. And I think many of those motion games, like speaking of Zelda, like Skyward Sword, those games from that era hasn't aged well just because of the control. Like you had to control it with the movement, and I still feel it was very frustrating. You get very tired in your arms playing the games, and so I have much respect for the Wii because I know it gave this big boost to Nintendo, and they have improved on the technology since. And I will always love playing the Wii Sports game, But as a Nintendo console, it was very short on good games as well, I think. And for me, the controls just was tiresome, physically tiresome to play. So one of my least favorites, even if it's important in gaming history, because it is. But yeah, I didn't really enjoy that one, I think, so much. No, but if you love video games, it's hard to pick even one that you don't like, because you always have good memories from all the consoles, basically. Anyway, so yeah, we'll see where we land in a couple of years ahead when we get PlayStation 6 or something else.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting for, looking forward to that time.
Yeah,
where we are.
Me too.
So I've really enjoyed this episode. Like, I've truly lost track of time.
Yeah, same here. That's good. We always lose track of time when we're talking about gaming and stuff. So it was nice talking about console. We'll see what we're talking about next time. What topic. We'll see what we figure out here. But good talking. Thank you so much for listening. And if this is your first time on the channel here, don't forget to like and support our channel. It's the only way we can grow and reach a larger audience. But thank you so much for listening to us. John, have you anything to add for today's episode?
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope that you continue to support our channel, and hope you stay tuned for the next episode.
Yeah, great. Okay, bye.
Bye.